the 2019 triathlon race season is underway, so we thought we'd run you through our pick of pro triathletes to watch out for in 2019, from ITU all the way up to Ironman distance.
Yeah, we've got some new faces, some familiar faces, athletes who are switching distances. But first up, we're going to focus on the women, and specifically we're going to look at the shorter distance athletes. So Mark, who have we got?
Okay, well, my first pick is Georgia Taylor-Brown of Great Britain. Okay, call me biased, but she is genuinely a force to be reckoned with. And we've spoken about it a bit before on the channel because she is an incredible talent. She sort of launched onto the scene back in 2012 when she won the Junior Elite Duathlon World Championships. But then a few years ago, seemed to suffer from some quite severe lower limb injuries that put her out from racing for a good couple of seasons. Though in 2017, she came back in style, winning the Under-23 European Triathlon Championships. And then in 2018, came away with 3 WTS podiums, putting her third in the overall WTS ranking. So, could 2019 be her year?
Well, that's very interesting, Mark. And if we are talking about ITU racing, specifically the WTS, we cannot ignore Katie Zaferes from the US. She very narrowly missed out on winning the ITU series last year with a sprint finish at the grand final on the Gold Coast. She was incredibly consistent in her racing. In fact, last year, of the 8 WTS rounds, she was only off the podium in 2 of those, one being a very credible 6th place, and the other being a crash in Abu Dhabi, which actually was something that impacted an awful lot of the other athletes too. So I think this year is going to be an incredibly good year for her. As I said, really consistent, and she's already won the Super League in Singapore.
Well, Fraser, backtrack to 2017, and the absolute athlete to be was Flora Duffy. She won 6 of the 8 WTS events that year and seemed to be on track to do the same again in 2018. She won the Commonwealth Games, Bermuda WTS, and then Yokohama WTS. But then it all seemed to come to an end because unfortunately she was another athlete that seems to have been plagued by injuries since then. She's also recently had to withdrawn from the Abu Dhabi WTS. So hopefully we'll see her coming back later this year in her usual strong fashion, or big speculation here, as the WTS series win is potentially off the cards, could we see her doing some different kind of racing? Maybe 70.3?
Yeah, who knows, Mark? But before we stop talking about ITU athletes for now, our final 2 to talk about are Vicky Holland and Non Stanford. Now I know you'll be thinking more British bias from the guys at GTN, but they've both won the ITU overall series, so we can't ignore them. They're really good friends, they've been previous training partners, spent an awful lot of time doing races around the world with each other. They both seem to be in really good shape. Vicky obviously is reigning champion. Non seems to come off a really good training block, so I just think we've got a chance to see some really good things from the 2 of them.
Well, now moving on to some of the longer distance racing of the female athletes still. My first pick is Anne Haug. Not only was she a very impressive ITU athlete, representing Germany twice at the Olympic Games, she also appears to be an incredibly good long distance athlete too. In 2017, in her first ever Ironman 70.3 event, she won it with Ironman 70.3 Lanzarote. And in 2018, she came third in both the Ironman 70.3 Worlds and the Ironman World Championship. So yeah, pretty impressive, and both with some blistering run legs.
Yeah, now, as we're talking about long distance racing and female athletes, there's 2 that we just cannot not talk about. Excuse the double negative there. We've got Lucy Charles and Daniela Riff, who really between the 2 of them have carved up long distance racing over the previous few years. Daniela, first and foremost, 4 times Ironman world champion and Ironman 70.3 world champion, which really is quite incredible.
That's good, something.
I actually asked Mark to double check that. But Lucy has really pushed her in recent years. Certainly at the Ironman distance over the last 2 years, she's been putting in a blistering swim that's forcing Danielle to chase hard on the bike. And last year, Lucy did the same at World 70.3s too. So yeah, just really exciting racing from these 2.
Yeah, but there are some others that could really turn some heads this year. One of which is Laura Philipp, who we recently caught up with in Lanzarote on her rest day. She did an 8-hour, 34-minute debut Ironman time at Ironman Barcelona, and that is the fastest ever debut Ironman time by any female athlete. And to add to that, she is a 13-time Ironman 70.3 winner. Now that is some going.
Yeah, I mean, that's a few races to notch up. But let's not forget about some other really quick athletes. We've got Radka Kalafelt, who was 5th last year at World 70.3 Championships. And let's not forget, she was actually winning 70.3 races fairly quickly, within a few weeks after having given birth, which is one seriously badass mum, if you ask me. Another super fast athlete coming up through the ranks is Chelsea Sodaro from the US. Now, she is a previous runner, very good ITU athlete too, but has now just stepped up into the realms of long distance racing and won her very first event at Indian Wells La Quinta just before Christmas in California.
Now let's move over onto the men, and in the same fashion start with the ITU male athletes. And I'm a big fan of French athlete Vincent Louis. He's been on the podium in a few WTS events, and he has made winning the WTS Grand Final a little bit of a habit. He's an incredibly strong swimmer, a great biker, and one of the best runners in the sport. So I'm very excited to see what he has to offer for us this year.
Right, Mark, so since we're talking about speedy runners, what about young Alex Yee from Great Britain?
Good champ.
A 5k PB of 13:34, 10k PB of 27:51, and he's actually the British 10k champion, no less. So all of that, and the lad is only 21 years old. So yeah, I think we're going to see an awful lot from him.
Well, whilst we are still talking about ITU athletes, we cannot miss off Mario Mola. After all, he is 3-time WTS Series champion from 2016, 2017 and 2018. In fact, in 2018, he won 4 of the 8 WTS Series events and was only actually off the podium in one event from the whole series, where he placed 4th.
Now, interestingly, that 4th place came at the Bermuda WTS event, where he was beaten by a clean sweep of Norwegians, which was Kasper Storms, Christian Blumenfeld and Gustav Iden, which is unprecedented, clearly. And those Norwegians have just gone on to do great things ever since, with Christian being a complete force to be reckoned with on the WTS circuit. Gustav Iden came up with an amazing result and took some big scalps at the Lausanne ITU World Cup, which is going to be the location for our grand final this season. And then you had Kasper Storms doing really well too, but all 3 of them were on the podium at the Bahrain 70.3, so we should probably add them onto our long distance list too.
Well, moving on to the long distance side of things, and I'm going to actually kick off with a slightly unexpected one, and that is Michael Raelert. Well, he's actually not that unexpected at all, because he is the 2009 and 2010 Ironman 70.3 world champion. Now, admittedly, the last few years haven't been his best due to illness, injury and various other things, but he really seems to be churning out some good early season results. So could this be his comeback?
Yeah, I hope so. A lot of time for Mikey. But on the flip side, what about a newcomer to the sport who I think is going to cause some serious damage this year, and that's Rudolfi von Berg from the US. Now, last year he broke Jesse Thomas's long-standing 6-year unbeaten streak at the Wildflower Triathlon. He also went on to become Ironman 70.3 European champion, and did so within a remarkable run split, outrunning an equally fast runner in the shape of Adam Bowden. So all that being said, I think he's going to be one to watch this year.
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean that we're forgetting some of the athletes that have really been dominating the long distance scene for the last couple of seasons, and that undoubtedly includes the current Ironman 70.3 world champion and previous Ironman world champion Jan Frodeno, and his fellow countryman, who is the current Ironman world champion and Kona course record holder Patrick Lange. Well, I think it's fair to say that we are anticipating a little bit of a battle royale between those 2 athletes later this year. But another athlete that we're sure will be trying to stamp his mark after, I guess you could say, a slightly quieter than usual 2018 season, and that is the Canadian powerhouse of Lionel Sanders. So watch this space, guys.
Yeah, now let's round out this whole section by throwing in a couple wild cards in the form of Bradley Weiss and Mauricio Mendes, both Xterra world champions, or former Xterra world champions should I say, and very accomplished long distance athletes to boot as well. Bradley recently won the Ironman 70.3 in South Africa, and Mauricio as well has been on the podium loads of times and won a few as well, most notably the Ironman 70.3 Asia Pacific champ title last year, where he outran a very stellar field.
Well, there is our take on some of the athletes to really keep an eye out for this coming 2019 season and across all of the disciplines.
Yeah, no doubt we have probably missed a few, and you can hopefully help us out there. If you've got any ideas, you can drop them in the comments section below, and please give your reasons why. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please hit that thumb up like button. Don't forget to click on the globe, subscribe, and get all our other videos. And if you want to see one that we did with German pro Laura Philipp when we went on a coffee ride, well, you can find that here.
And if you'd like to see Fraser and myself really suffering in a bit of a, well, brutal session with Will Clark, then you can see that by clicking just here.